G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. The First Noel, it's such a pretty Christmas carol. We're going to take a look at an arrangement here played in a fingerstyle technique. We've got two variations. The first variation is sort of in a two-part harmony, and the second variation ventures into a three-part harmony with a little bit more embellishment. We're in drop D tuning. We're playing in the key of D for this version. In a moment, we're going to have a look at the first 8 measures of the first variation, but if you head to pickinglessons.com, you'll be able to get yourself a copy of the chart that we're working from that's got both the tablature and the notation. You'll also find the next part of this lesson where we'll break down the remainder of the tune, look at the second half of the first variation, and break down the second variation as well. So pickinglessons.com. Let's jump into a slow playthrough of the first 8 bars, then we'll have a look together, talk about the basic techniques, just have a little run through what you need to look at. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so there was the first 8 bars in the first variation. We're in the key of D, we're actually in drop D tuning as well. So string 6 tuned down to a D. We're in 3/4 time, we're in a waltz, 3/4 time. And essentially this first variation is in a two-part harmony. So we've got our melody. Bringing in a harmonized note from the chord underneath. So that will sound like this. Really just richens the sound and really sweetens that sound with that harmony in there. It sounds great. Obviously making it a little bit more challenging to play. So firstly, I'm using a thumb pick. You can just use regular fingers on this one, that's okay, but I'm using a thumb pick here. And pretty much when you're pinching the two notes together, we use a thumb and a finger. I continue to use the same finger, and what I'm finding the reason for that is that it keeps the tone consistent. So while we're on tone, also think about volume. The melody wants to be on top. You want to hear that above the lower note. So make sure the thumb isn't too strong and the melody sits above that and it's quite clear. So make sure you get that balance right. So as you're moving through, something to take note of too with fingerstyle arrangements, generally speaking, what you'll find is when you're looking at the notation part of the melody, so the standard notation, the lower voice has the music stems pointing down. That's pretty much played with your thumb. Anything with the stem pointing up, that's going to be with your fingers. Now that can change. Of course we can have variations, but as a general rule, keep that in mind. So your thumb's on that lower note, the lower voice with the stem down, and your fingers on the upper voice. Worth having a look at the notation if you haven't seen that before. If you're just reading through the tablature, really, the lowest note is going to be the thumb. The highest note there's going to be your fingers. You can use one finger with your thumb for a lot of the time. Measure 3, for example. Just pinching those. Aim for consistent tone and volume. Into measure 4. With the hammer-ons that we have, because we're playing a slower tempo, be mindful of not rushing those. 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and. Don't rush those hammer-ons. When we're moving through in measure 5 to measure 6, measure 7 and measure 8, we've got that two-part harmony moving all the way through. Really important to make sure your left-hand fingers are up for where they need to be. It's all in the tablature. If you can remember that we're primarily playing out of position 2, you'll be okay. Position 2 means first finger at fret 2 and then each finger takes a fret after that, little finger included up on fret 5. Okay, so there's the first 8 bars of this arrangement. Now you do repeat that, so we have to repeat that for the melody, then we go into a variation to close it out, which is very similar, but it is a variation nonetheless. If you head to pickinglessons.com, we'll continue this lesson and we'll work on the second part of this first variation, so the variation in the second half, Then we'll jump on to the second variation of the tune. So we'll have a look at, it's a little bit more embellished. We're moving into a 3-part harmony. Rather than the melody and an extra harmony note, we're going to add a melody and 2 harmony notes. So that's in the next variation. So pickinglessons.com, jump over there, you get yourself a copy of the tab, and we'll continue this lesson. I'll see you there.